Welcome to Learning with Lisa, Student Success Beyond Expectations podcast with Lisa Navarra, award-winning educator, consultant, behavior specialist, author, and parent.
Hello, and welcome to the Student Success Beyond Expectations podcast. I am Lisa Navarra, your host, and today we are with Gia Scardina. And Gia holds a very special place in my heart, as well as her family. I got the pleasure of working with Gia and her family and getting to know her as a mom and a professional. And what a wealth of knowledge she is for both my listeners as well as for her own children, as she went through the process and journey of learning how to teach her own children how to self-regulate. Gia is a mom of a son who's 9 years old, a daughter who's 10, and who's a loving stepmom to a 20-year-old daughter as well. I also have the pleasure of getting to know her husband, and together they have been able to really set such a positive foundation for their children. But Gia has a very unique background. Gia also happens to be a parent advocate, and Gia has been a parent advocate for approximately 6 years, where she educates parents on the CSE, CPSE processes, as well as she has a special niche in hearing loss. So she works directly with the parents who work with her in regards to hearing loss, and she works directly with children who have hearing loss as well. Now, that's just a little bit about Gia, as her wealth of knowledge goes much more beyond that disability, but she really empowers others. And so today, she's here to provide and support our mission for you, to inspire you, provide information and resources too. So hello, Gia, and welcome.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure. Gia, would you tell my listeners a little bit about your background and what really inspired you to become a parent advocate?
Sure. So my journey began with my first born child. I had her later in life. She is 10, as Lisa said. And I was 40 when I gave birth to her. She was born with hearing loss. And I had never experienced children with hearing loss until I had my daughter. My journey began there.
And what was that journey like initially? When you first found out that your child had hearing loss, how did you feel? And what were the next and first steps that you took?
So I did find out at birth through the newborn hearing screening that they give now. And I was absolutely overwhelmed, very emotional, and scared. There were many days, many nights that I cried, wondering if my daughter would ever be able to hear me say, "I love you." Or many times if I would wonder if she would be able to tell me that she loved me. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to learn sign language. So many things went through my mind. And then, a couple with my husband as well, who was going through his stage of acceptance, I call it now.
Gia, if you had any advice for parents who are just finding out that their child might have some struggles in life, what would you tell them?
Stay strong, stay at it. It's okay to fear the unknown, but you're going to get there. You'll get there. You absolutely will. That little bundle of joy that you gave birth to, or you have had the blessing to have in your life, you will find a way.
And you found your way, didn't you? As well as your husband, Joe, right?
Absolutely. It's been a journey that I wouldn't know what my life would be like without.
What supports helped you and Joe get to where you are now with your children?
Honestly, it just started off, through school, through parent education, through other parent experiences, as well as just reaching out, really just reaching out, talking to friends, working through many emotional days and nights of what to do, where to go. Googling, I would read many, many things. But you just start at one point and focus on one thing as you go through.
And tell us about your children now. How are they?
Well, my daughter, as I said, is 10. She is still hearing impaired, of course, because that doesn't go away. But she is in a mainstream classroom in public school. She's doing phenomenally well. And then I have a son who is 9, who just turned 9. And he is also hearing impaired. He's more moderate to severe with hearing loss. And he also has ADHD. He is in a 1511 class in public school. And he's actually doing very well. We had gone through some struggles the past 2 years for sure, but we just keep going, and I keep learning and he keeps learning. And as a family, we learn together.
And being a parent of a child who has hearing loss and ADHD, are there certain strategies that you use to help him along, whether it be academically, behaviorally, socially? What can you share with us?
So, I feel like with hearing loss, I basically had like language down, how to teach him. But he started to struggle at the end of like first grade behaviorally. And I was recommended through SEPTA to reach out to you, actually. So I learned some new techniques to help him and guide him. And not only did they help and guide him, but they helped us as a family. And it really helps me a lot.
That's wonderful. And Gia, for our listeners who aren't sure of what SEPTA is, can you explain to them what it is and what they provided for you as a parent?
Sure. SEPTA is like Special Education Parent Teacher Association. Instead of being the general PTA, it's for special education parents. And many school districts have SEPTA, and with SEPTA, they will give parent education and talk about different things, different children with different needs. You'll meet other parents who could give you support and guide you as well, because without our parent network, it's, it could become overwhelming. I learned a lot from other parents, and through our shared experiences, some other children with hearing loss. My son has many different friends with different abilities, and we all just get along. We accept one another, learn about one another, and help one another.
And
SEPTA is.
And for our listeners who have children in school, so school-age children, I think, Gia, you might agree how important it is to get involved with your school SEPTA. Oftentimes,
Absolutely.
there's not a lot of membership there, but there's a need and a want for a camaraderie. Can you speak toward that? Would you agree with that?
I absolutely think that if you have a child that has special needs, get involved in SEPTA. Even if you don't go to every meeting, they're on Zoom now. They do a lot of things virtually. They record things. And you may not get there that night, but be involved. You'll be surprised at what little things might help you. And it could be one little thing, but if that one little thing is going to help you, help your child, get involved.
Right. And those little things, I think maybe you're even mentioning, like they have speakers come in and they have information and they hand out resources and bridge that connection between the outside world and school and what organizations are available, such as
Yes.
you're very involved with the Cleary School, or at least you were.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Cleary School and your involvement?
Sure. So I first began my journey at Cleary School in 2010. And by 2012, I became one of the PTA presidents, or actually PSA, which was Parent Student Association. Cleary School was definitely a learning experience. They had parent education there for us. They talked us through the CSE process, the CTSE process. They taught us everything you'd want to know about hearing loss, for sure, as well as different language options. We were able to take sign language classes there. We were able to. Both kids went through summer school process. It was a wonderful experience.
Yes, and they have a lot of programs specifically geared toward hearing loss.
Mm-hmm.
For those listeners who are not quite sure what the Cleary School is, right? That's wonderful.
Correct. There's all different programs. They have a pre-K program. They have a PIP program. The PIP program is parents with the infants, the parent-infant program. And that would be where parents come in with their infants and they start doing like learning to listen sounds. They have a baby group. They have a music group. All different types of things that they'll process through, because your child starts hearing the moment from your womb. So even if they're hearing impaired or deaf, there's different things that deaf children pick up on. And every single one of those sounds are important.
And early
will help them develop.
Is so important. Sounds like you had your children in early intervention as soon as you could.
Yes. Oh, my daughter was 5 months and my son was 4 hours.
And that's the way to go. And
he was still in the hospital when I made phone calls. So.
And that's so you. That's the Gia I know. Absolutely. You're getting right on top of it. And talking about getting right on top of things, then you expanded yourself and dedicated yourself to helping children and families with your advocacy, right? And
yes, I went through the Partners.
Fire.
Mm-hmm. I did go through the Partners in Training program through New York State to learn about being an advocate. I became certified with Partners in Training, and then I took Partners in Policy Making. And I was able to do some stuff, with Congress and be involved in that kind of stuff. We go up, we can lobby just to get support, for other children with special needs.
Can you talk to us about a child or a family that you helped through your advocacy?
Sure.
There's probably so many of them, Gia, that you don't even know which one to pick first. I mean, I know you long enough.
No, I'm without saying names, I'm trying to like process how to not say names. But yeah, absolutely. So, I travel to different areas. So I was able to recently, as a matter of fact, help a child get services that she needed. She was going into third grade, and the district was giving her a little bit of a hard time, just because, again, with all the virtual learning, which is becoming challenging, it's harder to do testing and get some services that are needed. So I was able to direct the parent as to where she needed to go, what reports she might need to process everything. And we were able to reconvene at a later date for meeting. And she was able to get the services that she needed for her child.
And if you're getting a sense that Gia is knowledgeable and very level-headed, you've got it right. I'll never forget when you had the foresight, actually, to have me come in and sit in on a CSC meeting as your child's service provider. And I just had such great respect, because working with schools and working with families and being around advocates myself, I just loved the way you were able to navigate the correspondences and the discussions among everybody and advocate for your child. But it was in such a fair and respectful way that everybody walked away happy, and everyone felt like, we really were able to utilize the resources as much as possible. I absolutely loved your approach to
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you. I think that overall, and this is something I do stress to parents, that go in there with a plan. Like have a plan. We could sit down, discuss what you feel is appropriate for your child, and think about things. Always be willing to maybe want or ask for more than you want, so you could be negotiable. And also participate. If if you've taken your child to the doctor, if you've gotten them services outside that you've provided on your own, share that with your school district. Share that. They want to see that you're trying to help your child outside as well. It's actually, it just helps things along. Just because, they want to help you as well, as long as you're willing to put in some work as well, and always be willing to negotiate. I find that sometimes parents are so scared to allow their children to maybe take a chance, take a shot at, seeing what a child could do without maybe, 1 day of service. So if they typically get 3 days, maybe they'll individual, maybe they'll want them to do 2 days individual and 1 day group. And you'll be surprised as to what your child can do.
Yes, and so what I'm hearing really is to work as a partnership. If there are certain recommendations made, consider them, have a discussion, and then you can always go back and revisit if there were any changes that you're really still uneasy with.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right. And so, do you remember the moment when you wanted to become an advocate? What was that like?
I actually do. It was very empowering for the moment, and scary at the time. But I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I realized that so many people just started to talk to me. I think I was very approachable, and parents would just ask me questions and felt comfortable. And I love people.
Love
and
you.
I what was that?
And people love you. If I'm walking
Thank
with
you.
they're all stop, and Joe is like, yes, she knows everybody, and everybody knows Gia.
Yeah, well,
Great.
I am very lucky. I am. I definitely consider myself very lucky in so many ways.
And as they are just as lucky to have you on their side, which is
Thank
absolutely fantastic. So,
Yeah.
so you gave us advice for
Mhm.
if you should know that your child is potentially going to have some challenges, to get right on it,
Mhm.
start with early intervention. You gave some advice
Yeah.
for when working with school districts and advocating for yourself and working as a team.
Mhm.
What kind of advice, if you were an outsider looking in, would give you? What advice would you give yourself?
Well, most recently, I've struggled over the years to putting too much on my plate and overwhelming myself. So most recently, the best advice I gave to myself was to start to care for myself first. Um, just giving myself an hour of time, sometimes a day, sometimes it's only once a week, but I give myself that time. Um, doing whatever it is I like. So for me, and not for everybody else, because I've never said no
Self-care
till
is so
the
important.
past few months, honestly, through COVID. COVID taught me to say that it was okay to say no once in a while.
Mhm. And how do you feel because you're taking better care of yourself? How do you feel at the end of the day?
Wonderful, actually. Wonderful. I'm extremely happy. Overall, I feel better. I feel like I have more patience with my children, my family, myself.
And isn't
Mhm.
that what so many parents do? They put so much pressure on themselves. Oftentimes, there's a lot of guilt. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I could have done this better.
Mhm.
If only,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
really, I think part of that bottom line is our kids love us, and they just want us to be happy as much as we want them to be happy.
And they really don't have much of an idea of how much what goes on in your mind all day and how you sometimes can't turn it off. They don't know that.
Right.
So all they know is that you love them and that you show them love.
Gia, if there was one piece of advice that you can give students who struggle learning, how
Mhm.
would you help them, or what would you say to them so they can turn their I can't into I can?
Well, generally, I know with my son, I will give him options. I actually have focused in on what's important to him. So generally, I will say to him, um, what's going to make you feel better today? Would you like to do A or B? And allow him to feel like he's making the choice. Sometimes that helps him to turn his, I guess, frown upside down, or sometimes his get himself refocused.
Yeah, I really have to say a very special thank you for sharing your story with my listeners, showing your heart a bit, who you are. And if they would like to get in touch with you to discuss with you what their options are in terms of working with you as a parent advocate, how can they get in contact with you?
So I can be reached by my cell phone at 516-639-6468 or through my email. It's gabbygabs40@gmail.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us tonight. And we look forward to having
Thank
you
you
on
for
again.
having me, Lisa.
You're welcome. It's absolutely my honor. Everybody, take this podcast, take this information. Remember to subscribe, like, and share, and get that information out there. Gia shared a lot of resources with us tonight, and we want to help everybody around us as much as we possibly can. So, make it a great day. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Student Success Beyond Expectations podcast, where school leaders, educators, and parents meet on behalf of children who struggle with learning.